How we doing? So far, so good. If you need to pick me up because it's been an early morning, make sure you go see our friends at Paper Plane. Best coffee in Jersey, if I may say. I'm so thrilled to be joined by Jennifer Halloran, who is the CMO of MassMutual. Welcome, Jennifer. Also my birthday twin, 2 Sagittarius up here on stage.
Talking forever.
Jen, obviously we're in a moment, as we've all been talking about, and getting to work with you in the day-to-day on MassMutual's investments in the space. This is not new to you. You have been investing during your tenure at MassMutual across a number of properties, ensuring that not only are you showing up in the space with your investment, but also leaning into the storytelling as it relates to your brand proposition as being a company that stands for mutuality. Can you talk about what your experience has been like and share with the audience some of the programs you've invested in and what those returns have looked like?
Yeah, absolutely. Can I hold up a second, though? Just take a look.
I know, this is amazing.
Okay.
Amazing.
We were here a year ago. There was no deep blue. You've done an amazing job. Thank you for bringing us all together, for building this business, for putting everybody here, for letting us be a part of it, because this stuff doesn't happen without people like you and Deep Blue. So thank you. We've been trying to get it. We've been working on this for a while. We've been trying to figure out where we wanted to be, but we have always been very committed to not only women in finance, but also women as athletes. And so a couple of years ago, we worked on a lot of programs that were very similar to some of the things you've been hearing about today. We work with the Players Tribune, and we really highlighted the stories of athletes and how they got where they are today by the people that supported them, and living mutual and really understanding the essence of what we believe is important as a brand is that people take care of each other. And so we did a number of series. We had Monica Puig, Becky Sanders, and we went back to all these people that really influenced their lives. And telling these stories and really leveraging not only the ability to find these attributes in these athletes that really strengthen what we think is also important as a company and as a brand is a gift and is really special for us. And we have also spent a lot of time working on programs that help people understand the significance of women in finance. And we did a partnership with the Washington Post a couple years ago about saying she spends wisely. How do we demystify this idea that women are frivolous spenders? And so really, I think there's a combination and a real power for us, and there's an opportunity here with both of those channels.
It's amazing. In thinking about where MassMutual is headed next, we're working right now together on a project that is going to be focused not on post-career, but next career. Because as we know in women's sports, and I actually want to allude to a story that I've heard Abby Wambach, the legendary Abby Wambach, talk about when she received an Icon Award, standing on stage next to 2 of her male peers. And she talks about how coming off that stage, it really hit her in that they were going to ride off into the sunset with an incredible opportunity to retire. And in that moment, recognizing that she had to get up and go to work the next day or think about what comes next. And as we are looking to move towards a more equitable future for female athletes, your company in particular is drilling in on the next chapter, next career, thinking about wealth management and how you can support these athletes moving through this transitionary period from professional careers into the workforce.
It was Kobe Bryant and Peyton Manning. And she literally walked off the stage and was like, I'm going to work tomorrow. These guys have a totally different retirement. I think it's really important to us for 2 reasons. One is we know statistically that women, just in their general finances, tend to have gaps in their employment because they take time out to raise families or support their families independently or have children and such. So the retirement overall has always been a really important issue for us with women in finances. Also because when you think more of the middle income or even diverse communities, the women are 90% of the fundraisers. I mean, they are making all the money in the house and making all the decisions. So getting this idea around giving them a plan and really understanding what retirement would look like is very important to us. This transition that we're talking about today with these women that are leaving sports, and some of them had really successful careers, and I loved listening to these athletes that were just up here before, and with power of NIL and all this other stuff. But I've talked to a lot of athletes that never even really made it into that stage of the career, people that were in tennis or tried to get into the LPGA. They spent 7-8 years trying to get in and spending their own money. And then all of a sudden they didn't really make it, and whether it was an injury or not the opportunity, and now they're 30-some years out of college. You know, one woman I spoke to, she was an all-star at Duke, and she's like, what do I do now? I don't have a resume. I don't have I don't have any money. I've been working at this. So I think there's this real important thing, whether they're successful or not, that helping them really plan for the next stage is really important. And that's with sort of the truth that we've been working on from a research perspective. And then thankfully with your team to really build that strategy out now this year.
I want to talk about what you were just alluding to in that, and I think we heard it on the brand panel earlier today. There's certainly financial investment. But then the resources, infrastructure, right? So many of the skills gaps that exist and how brands can really get involved in not just showing up with that financial transaction, but really supporting from a resource standpoint. Can you talk about what that looks like at a company like MassMutual that is looking to ensure that next chapter?
Yeah, we have a network of over 8,000 financial advisors across the country. And we've learned, and this is probably not a shock to anybody here, but we've learned that a lot of different people within their individual communities or different segments or diversity, they like to work with people that they know and understand them. So one of the big things that we've been working on for a while at MassMutual is really building out and recruiting more women advisors, because they understand the finances of women and they can relate to them and what they're building. And I think there's a really big opportunity for us this year as we build out this strategy and this program to tap in. And I was just, I was down with a big meeting in the beginning of March with a bunch of our general agents, and 3 of them were previous women athletes. 3 of them came out to me and said, and these are, running big general agencies with tons of assets under management, how can we help? We hear that you guys are working on this. And so we have an opportunity to really pool this base of female advisors, and many of them that we're learning were invested in sports, and that's, pretty common when you look at the statistics around, the C-suite today. 90% of them played sports, and over 50 of them played at a collegiate level, so that you have this connection. They're out there, and they want to get back, and they want to support. So I think there's a huge opportunity for us to build a program around those female advisors and connect them with these needs.
Yeah, we're consistently at Deep Blue looking for signals, that indicate where the ball's moving. And I read recently that we are getting prepared as a nation for the single largest transfer of wealth that will happen. And what I am really excited about is that the people who will be ingesting that wealth are largely women. So I think we're going to need a bigger footprint next year.
I do. I was going to say, this will be no shock.
But let's talk about that, because, with that, transfer of wealth, right, comes the opportunity to make strategic investments. Right. For those of us in the room who are supporting women's sports from various vantage points, when we think about, not just showing up, with our wallets, but these resources, et cetera, and so forth, how as a brand are you getting ready for that transfer of wealth? And what can we be thinking about as an industry? I mean, we're seeing sky-high valuations going up across all the teams. In the NWSL, for example, I mean, what a return on investment that San Diego saw. I mean, in for $2 million, sell for $120. I think that's pretty good returns. I can't do fast math, but I think that's pretty good.
I'll take it.
But let's talk about that transfer of wealth and what you're, forecasting in terms of what that could mean for this space.
It's a really important focus for us, and I think, no surprise, I'm sure my husband wouldn't be shocked by this, that we have about $3 trillion of inherited wealth for women, and we spend about $71 trillion as a marketplace. I think yours and my shoes
$71 trillion
females spent in the marketplace. And so there's a buying power as a business there for women. And I think when you connect the opportunity that these female athletes are bringing into that space for brands, the opportunity, the reason the brands work, and you heard it even better than I could explain it in the previous panel, why these athletes want to work with brands is very important to them, but the value that they have when you can get their trust and their following, that's a real marketplace, and that's an audience that all of us are really struggling to reach as a brand, because it's authentic and it's real. And so I think when we can build the right products and build the right opportunities around managing wealth, that's going to be where you see this power, because this is where all this money is going.
Yeah, when I was first building the business plan for Deep Blue, and I'm looking at Alexis Ohanian sitting in the front row here. Alexis was really one of the first people that saw it in the back of an SUV on the way to the US Open. I'm like, we have 5 minutes, we're going. And we were talking about why should or would advertisers invest in this space. I think the number you just said, in terms of in the trillions, should be enough to get anybody's attention in terms of why you'd want to engage a female audience.
100%. And you know that even within the other leagues, in the NHL and others, women are watching all sports. And so now that we've got this rise out there in the marketplace where they're actually watching female athletes and they're seeing this empowerment, again, like I said, most of us in this room, we're athletes too. You get that passion around it. There's a massive market opportunity. And what I'm really, really excited about what's happening now is for what it's going to bring forward, the visibility. And you heard it earlier today, 45% of girls drop out of sports at the age of 14. But they can see them now, and they can be them, and they'll stay in it, and they'll have this power that these women are having. This is a massive purchasing power opportunity, and brands are just missing it if they're not even thinking that this is their space.
I wanted to do this earlier in the day. By show of hands, how many people in this room have played sports? That's what we're talking about. And when we talk about, and there's a great line that Esther Wallace, we'll hear from her later, she has on a t-shirt, right? Girls who play become women who lead. And I think that's evidence in this room. And I know this is also personal to you as the mother of a former D1 collegiate athlete.
She's here today.
Hi, Grace.
Hey, Grace. Better athlete than I ever was.
When you think about what you're building, I mean, we've talked about, some dream projects in terms of, which I know will become reality, potentially building policies that can support female athletes that go out on injury. We've learned that many women to date professionally, because of the lack of resources from recovery, rehab, all these sort of things, some professional athletes will tell you they've actually paid to play professionally by the time they're done with the amount of money they've had to come out of pocket to support their physical well-being. When you think about Grace and the future and the next generation, what are those, just to close out here, policies or opportunities you see in the seat you're in that can drastically change the future of the systems of what's needed to grow this industry further?
I think it's really important, and they were talking this morning, somebody mentioned that they have trainers when they were in high school. But when you get into professional sports, these women are paying for that by themselves, out of their own pocket, and they're not making the salary during the year. So I think we have an opportunity, us being an a large insurance-based business and based around disability, that I think we should make this as almost that package that you buy. They don't get these opportunities when they sign with these teams, and that has to be mandatory, and that has to be affordable. And I think we need to design something that helps people through that. It's not a 5-week disability leave. Retraining from a torn ACL could be years. So we really have to think smart about what we could do as a product offering to help give them that guarantee and then help pay for that recovery so they can go back whenever they want. It happens with NFL players all the time. They come back 2 years later on a different team because they got the help and the money and they got to recover. And we need to build that in the system.
Well, here's to building it. Jennifer Haller and everyone from MassMutual. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.